The Motherfucker. Interesting choice of name. So I just watched Kick-Ass 2, and when I walked out of the cinema, I realized that I was back in that place called the real world. And this is something that our fabled heroes in the movie have to take in consideration when fighting crime, because there will be consequences that will have effects on them that are very, very harsh. And as Rocky Balboa once said, it doesn't matter how hard you hit, it's how hard you can get hit, and nothing hits harder than life. And the movie does a great job at illustrating that, at doing that, especially when the motherfucker brings his reign of terror to the table. Because the motherfucker is that evil asshole that everyone loves to hate. One, because he has this delusional, vengeful attitude, and two, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, the actor who plays the motherfucker, delivers great creative acting to the table to bring to life that character that we can love and hate, who is able to bring some sort of contribution as Loki and Joffrey in one character, and that is what the motherfucker does. And if I keep saying his name, this video is going to get suspended. That's another thing I loved about this movie, are the names of our villains and heroes. Ridiculous names that the writer had to put a lot of thought in to create these characters and their ridiculous names. And these names, in a certain way, can't be taken seriously, but also kick major ass. I mean, if Wolverine called himself Pissed Off Edward Scissorhands, that wouldn't work too well now, would it? Following that, the build-up of the movie was good. Unfortunately, what I didn't like is that we don't see enough action from Hit Girl, because she's trying to integrate herself in that place called the normal world, which I find a bit sad, because we want to see her kick the living crap out of people like she did in the first movie. And speaking of action, violence, Jim Carrey did say he would not support this movie because he believed it to be the violence to be a bit too extreme, which I think is kind of true, that the action, the violence in this movie was very in your face, but at the same time it was a necessary evil, as he would say it, because they would need, for this movie to be very good compared to the first one, they would need to bring up the thunder, the heat, so this movie would kick major ass. And I think that this is something that I would disagree with when looking at Jim Carrey's reaction. And next, the investments that you make towards this movie, towards the characters, is very good. This movie manipulates you in such a way that they make you invest yourself in these characters, that, for example, in the final battle scene, you kind of get into the action and you're rooting for a side. I was thinking, this reminded me of a scene, the battle scene from Braveheart, or unless I'm being a bit too delusional. This movie was funny, entertaining, and as Jim Carrey would say, violent and action-packed. And my verdict for this movie is a solid 8 out of 10. Reminds me when I walked out of the cinema for the Batman movie, Batman The Dark Knight Rises, when I saw it with my nephew, my 12-year-old nephew, and my stepdad. And my nephew said to us, is there such a possibility for there to be superheroes in the real world? And my stepdad said, of course not, but I will not deny that possibility, because it would be great if it was true. Now, how much of a rating did you, listeners, give this movie? And if you could be a superhero, what would be your superhero epic name? So listeners, now I leave you to save the world as Gas Mask Man.
So until next time!